Hello everyone, this is Aegon of Astora, and welcome back to my caster build playthrough of Dark Souls Remastered. This is episode number 20, being recorded on Wednesday the 5th of September. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, whenever it is you find yourself watching this. So as noted in the video description, this is also the finale of the series, and accordingly, there's a number of things that we're going to want to do in this episode that we've yet to do up to this point. One of them concerns this chest over here, which is rather curious in that it's almost always empty. So I do wonder what will happen when we drop this ring here, the Covenant of Artorias. So we're just going to drop that there and leave it for the time being, and we'll return to that in a little bit. And we also have a very long list here of other things that we need to do, beginning first with a conversation with Crestfallen just with the Crestfallen Warrior. I've been corrected in the chat already, and I've already screwed it up by calling him Crestfallen Soldan. I believe that Crestfallen Soldan is the Crestfallen Warrior from Dark Souls 2.
Did you ring the second bell? That is incredible, I must say. But now we have a new problem. It's noisy. It snores, and its breath is lethal. This is no laughing matter, I tell you.
So he's complaining, of course, about King Sigurd Frampt.
Damn, that stench. And I was really beginning to like it here. Maybe it's time I do something about it.
So I've heard it suggested that the doing something about it is that he intends to go join the Dark Race and make an example out of us or something, but it's not entirely clear. And the reason that's often suggested will be clear a little bit later. But we also need to speak with Griggs of Vinheim, so let's do that now.
Oh, there you are. Just so you know, Master Logan has left on his own again. It seems that he is still determined to find the famed regal archives in Anor Londo. I intend to search for him. Only before I leave, there is one thing I wish to do. You see, Master Logan has left most of his books. With them, I could teach you Logan sorcery. You have done much to assist me. Before I leave on this journey, I will teach you all that Logan has to share.
So in spite of the fact that Griggs's trade is in intelligence. That isn't to say intelligence that you use to learn magic, but intelligence as in intel. Spy intelligence, because he's a spy. And yet, he's a couple episodes behind in terms of what's going on with Master Logan.
Oh, hello. You made it. Then let us begin. As promised, I shall bequeath Master Logan's sorcery to you.
So we're going to purchase everything that he has here. Note also that we've already learned Soul Spear, but he wants to teach it to us again, so sure, why not? We've spent in the last 3 episodes a lot of souls on sorceries that we're never going to use.
It's not that I'm concerned for Master Logan's welfare. Even in this treacherous land, Logan's skills are unmatched. He is a true hero. No, the reason I seek Logan is, well, it's really my own conceit now, isn't it?
Hotbocker Remix asks, where is Griggs keeping the books? I don't know that that pouch he has on is large enough, so that's a very good question.
All right, that'll do it. That should help you on your journey. May we meet again.
Hello, Mike Bart 70. Might as well also speak with Sieglinde while we're here.
Well, hello again. I have finally located my father. All of your help was invaluable to us. Thank you so much. I was finally able to pass on my mother's last words. My father? He went on his final adventure. Don't worry. That's just the way he is. Undead or no. Sort of reassuring, really. If he goes hollow, I'll just have to kill him again.
Oh, that's pretty rough. That is pretty rough. Okay, friend. Best of luck with all that. That doesn't sound especially pleasant, I must say. Next, we're gonna go talk to Rickert of Vinheim. Because we have a couple of embers to turn into him. But also, we have a friend here who somehow, I guess time is convoluted, all that stuff, who somehow made it past us. And again, I've heard it suggested that maybe he knew he needed to go to New Londo Ruins, where he was going to join the Dark Wraiths. And that somehow in the time between us going down the elevator, he has already tried and failed in doing so. To the point of going hollow, and dropping nothing but 1,000 measly souls. Rest in peace, friend. He does not have any dialogue, no. Hello, Nicole. So again, I'm sure I'm not alone in this, but it took many a playthrough before I had any idea that there was a blacksmith down here. I had no clue about any of this.
Hey, hang on. That's a sorcery ember, isn't it? Yes, it certainly is. First I've seen since my banishment from Vinheim. What do you say, friend? Mind giving that to me? This is no man's land. I'm the only one who could handle it anyway. What's happened?
Worthy of note, perhaps, that he too... Wait, no, is that the spy set? I want to say that it is, because the plain sorcerer set is a much lighter brown than that, I think. Oh, never mind. Rickert wears the unobtainable Mage Smith set. I wonder why they never made it so the player could get it. So he's not wearing the spy set or the normal sorcerer set. Never mind then. Thank you for clarifying that.
What was that about? It doesn't matter. Come back soon. Smith, don't let me. Hey, hang on. That's a sorcery ember, isn't it? Yes, it certainly is. First I've seen since my banishment from Vinheim. What do you say, friend? Mind giving that to me? This is no man's land. I'm the only one who could handle it anyway.
So Hot Pocket Remix provided the description for this unobtainable hat. Hat worn by proper mage smiths who studied at Vinheim Dragon School. Mage smiths learn their craft alongside sorcerers, but apply their sorcery to forging weapons with magic embers. Very interesting stuff.
Yes, I see. Alright, fine. But I don't think you're really seeing things clearly. Come back soon.
Ember required for weapon ascension. Large magic ember, a form of sorcery, handled only by the Vinheim magic blacksmiths. Ember required for weapon ascension. This enchanted ember, a form of sorcery, is a vestige of the lost land of Ulasil, the sorcerer's enchanted weapon that inflicts magic damage and is boosted by intelligence.
Hey, hang on. That's a sorcery ember, isn't it? Yes, it certainly is. First I've seen since my banishment from Vinheim. What do you say, friend? Mind giving that to me? This is no man's land. I'm the only one who could handle it anyway.
Interesting that he notes that he was banished from Vinheim. I wonder if that's simply because he turned undead, or if there was another reason.
Yes, as you should. I won't disappoint you. I'm taskless no longer. Oh, Big Hat? Of course I've heard of him. Who hasn't in Vinheim? He was a royal member of Dragon School, until he turned undead. I hear he was quite the character. Only that was 100 years ago. What interest have you in the old eccentric now?
So maybe that's the answer to our question, because he does note that Master Logan was a royal sorcerer until he turned undead.
Sorcery? Don't ask me how it actually works. We only fiddle and forge until it works itself in. That's how we do it in Vinheim, at least. We prefer to leave the theorizing to those uppity scholars.
What are you trying to say, friend? That's not very nice.
What is it? There's nothing to talk about. We're both cursed, undead. But what's there really to moan about?
Interesting technical note, they abbreviated weapon to WPN in that description, even though there was no need to. I suspect the localization team were trying to fit the text into the same space as the Japanese text, rather than knowing the max size of the text box. Yeah, they certainly... FromSoft has never been exceptional at wrapping text. That doesn't seem to be something that they do. Okay, so he says there's nothing to talk about.
Come back soon. Smithing helps soothe my nerves. Don't let me wither away out of idleness. Hey, hang on. Is that a sorcery ember? I've never seen one like that. Not even back in Vinheim. What a brilliant flame. Please, friend, let me have that, I am begging you. I am a craftsman of Vinheim. I'd go hollow before I pass him a flame like that.
So yeah, obviously it's the Enchanted Ember, which is the one that we picked up in the Ulasil Forest. Which, if you leave it for long enough without picking it up, it apparently turns into a Blue Titanite slab. Or so the placement of the Blue Titanite slab in Ulasil, in the Darkroot Forest, would otherwise suggest.
Oh, really? You are wonderful. I will forge a Rickert masterpiece just for you. A weapon to make a legend out of me. What is it? There's nothing. Come back soon. Smithing helps soothe my nerves. Don't let me wither away out of idleness.
Alright, see you later, friend. Enjoy your new embers. Hi, friend. We have a few embers for you. Large Flame Ember. Ember required for weapon ascension. Large Flame Ember used in ancient rites. Handled only by blacksmiths knowledgeable in ancient methods. Chaos Flame Ember. Ember required for weapon ascension. Chaos Flame Ember is an art of the lost city of Izalith. Handled only by blacksmiths knowledgeable in ancient methods. Chaos weapons are demon weapons augmented by humanity, which inflict fire damage.
My, is that an ember from New Londo, and a fine ember it be. What'd he say? Why not leave it with me? I'll give you a flame to feast your eyes upon.
So this is something I was unaware of. Because, and I guess this is a point in favor of the fact that they moved a bonfire here. Yeah, that is screwed up. Actually, for a second, I thought that we were giving him the large ember and not the large flame ember, or the very large ember. The large ember, of course, comes from the depths, and the very large ember comes from New Londo. So it is weird that he mentions New Londo in the context of the large flame ember, which came from Lost Izalith.
Yes, very well. We'll get these old bones to work. Well, what was that about? Don't be coming around here without a good reason.
It was a very good reason, I just gave you an ember.
Why, that's an ember unlike any that I have seen. A very curious pattern. Could it be the flame of the legendary witch? I know. Suppose you left that ember with me. Old Vamos would never let you down. No, not ever.
So this one appears to have the correct dialogue attached to it.
Yes, splendid. Splendid indeed. My, oh my, you precious little thing. Well, what was that about? Don't be coming around here without a good reason. Why, you have an ember, do you? Ah, forget about it. I don't deal with that kind. What has gone wrong with embers these days? I've told you, I have nothing to discuss. If I have anything to offer, it's my smithing, and nothing more. Speaking honestly, I must say that I'm at my very limit. There's no more work to be done. Unless I had the flame of that legendary...
You already do have the flame.
...would require a visit to Lost Izalith. Impossible. Well, what was that about? Don't be coming around here without a good reason.
Alright, whatever. Oh, what a guy, I swear. I wonder why they were originally going to put the large flame ember in New Londo. It doesn't really fit there at all. It's not even chaos related like the chaos flame ember. That is a very good question, unless that was just a complete error and they were never meant to be mentioned in the same breath. But I'm not sure.
Show me that ember of yours. Well, I've never heard of a black ember. How about leaving that ember with me? I find it strangely fascinating. Yes. Well, thank you. This ember really is something special. I'm already under its spell. I sense great potential indeed.
It's funny how in Dark Souls 3 he's much more hesitant to take any ember that has anything to do with dark than he is here. Here he's much more willing to just, oh yeah, hook me up, I'll take it. I'm already under its spell. He even notes that he's under its spell and doesn't really fight it at all.
I'll be seeing you then. Be careful out there.
When I first played the game, I was scared by that line because I thought it would corrupt him and do something bad. It's almost too bad that it doesn't. Although, again, that would mean... Well, I was going to say it would mean that we wouldn't see him in Dark Souls 3. But again, you can kill Gwendolyn, and they still show up in Dark Souls 3. Well, in a way, anyway. So we're going to see our friend Griggs, who unfortunately by this point is no longer our friend. So that was unexpected. Humanity, Sorcery Hush, Slumbering Dragon Crest Ring. It's weird that we have two of these, is it not? Like, you have to buy it in order to trigger this part of his questline anyway? But I guess that's what he drops anyway, so if you wanted to kill him and take it, rather than buying it, then you could just do that. But I don't know. Or just to further reinforce the fact that he's supposed to be a spy. Sorcery developed by a certain surreptitious sorcerer at Vinheim Dragon School masks all noise of Caster. Effectively, Vinheim is controlled by the Dragon School, and it is no wonder that the town has its share of dark secrets. And in this room, of course, which we skipped earlier in the playthrough, we have the Black Sorcerer set and another cast of Hush. Hat worn by these secret sorcerers at Vinheim Dragon School, they secretly work with sound-based spells and never reveal themselves. Except, again, for the fact that as soon as we made ourselves even remotely visible to Griggs, he fired a soul spear at us, or a soul arrow at us, and immediately tipped his hand as to where he was. So even though we didn't do much here when we were here earlier in the playthrough, I did come back a little bit later and I got a bunch of the items that we had previously missed, including we dealt with all of the prowling demons on the lower level. So we're going to just proceed on with the episode for now. So we might have to do a save quit here. Because the apparent change in aggro ranges is such that we're not really safe, speaking of Quelana, without save quitting here. I seem to have upset someone in an earlier episode when making that comment that, you know, they said something to the effect of, why do you keep saying that they haven't changed the aggro ranges? But I don't know, I feel like they have. Speedrunners have noticed this theme, it's not just you. Okay, thank you. So I'm glad I'm not crazy in mentioning that over and over and over again in this playthrough. Which, again, since this is the finale, it's probably something we should talk about, but I think that's a really weird decision. You know, I'm still satisfied in the overall. I don't think I wasted any money in buying this, because I've never played 60 FPS Dark Souls 1, and that's what I wanted. And of course, it would have been nice to have the ability to select which mods I would like to be included in this game. But it almost seems like Namco Bandai, again, fell in love with its own marketing. The whole prepare to die thing, and begun to think that that's the whole reason people play this game, and play these games. Although Hot Pocket Remix seems to suggest that it could be the additional frames per second, which I don't think that is an unreasonable suggestion at all. That, yeah, it could very well be that. Because we have seen in later games, in Dark Souls 2 in particular, that when it's running at 60 FPS, there are things like the durability of one's weapon, which are tied to frame rate. You could say that's a programming shortcut. I don't know nearly enough about the process of game development to say one way or the other, but it is curious, and you would think that something wouldn't be tied to frame rate, something like that wouldn't be tied to frame rate, but these are games that were originally just being developed for console. They didn't have to take into account 60 frames, 30 frames, 90 frames, 120 frames. They didn't have to worry about any of that. FromSoft sent it to QLock for the remastering. Bamco just published it. But it is possible, though, that if it was intentional, it is possible that Namco Bandai just said, hey, you know, why don't you fire up the difficulty a little bit? I don't know. It's complete speculation. So you can just ignore me. Hi, sister.
Outstanding. You have done very well. Thank you. I am blessed to have met you. I suppose I can call you fool no longer. I can hardly thank you enough. Please take this. It is all of me.
Well, thank you very much.
Ah, very well. There is nothing left for me to teach you. Our time together is done. It was short, but sweet.
Well, likewise, friend. Take care. That weapon over there is the very large club, I believe, which we don't need, so we're not going to be bothering to go for it. We are headed in this direction. From what we've been able to figure out, QLock may have effectively doubled the game's speed so that it runs at 60 FPS, and then slowed all the animations and stuff down by 50% essentially. If they forgot to do that with the AI system, the enemies would react faster. Very interesting stuff. Unintended consequences of doing things in the way that they seem to have done them, then, I suppose. So as we learned earlier in the playthrough, I believe when we were doing Blighttown, there are a couple of illusory walls here. And I'm only mentioning that one is here, and another one is here, because we've already opened the illusory walls. There was a story that came out where QLock were adding some new things, which is true, there's cut items in Dark Souls 1 Remastered, but so the reporting said, Bandai Namco asked that they remove them. Interesting, yeah. It's a tantalizing prospect, to be sure, for there to be items placed back in the game, but unless they were directly... I seem to recall there being an issue with one of the enemies is placed in a spot there where they don't actually belong. And so whenever you go there, they sort of fall to their death. Not dissimilar, I suppose, to the bug in the early builds of Bloodborne, the early retail builds of Bloodborne, where an enemy, yeah, there's a basilisk outside the map, that is incredible. Where if you ran around a table in Yosefka's clinic, then the dogs in... Yep, there it is. That'd be an interesting, certainly a slow way to farm souls, but free souls nevertheless. In a very early version of Bloodborne, if you ran around a table in Yosefka's clinic on the first floor, the dogs in the Forbidden Woods would just die over and over again. That enemy is definitely in the original. Yeah, oh yeah, I knew that. I can just imagine being the basilisk, looking around being very, very confused indeed. Okay, so I am dreadful at this part of the game because, you know, it's not something that I did in every playthrough of the game. So Again, though I did mention that this would be close to a 100% playthrough, I'm not going to be showing you here how to get every single item during our descent to Ash Lake, simply because I have no idea how to get some of them, and more to the point, there are already videos out there with much more efficient routes to show you exactly where you're supposed to get certain items. And that's something that drives me nuts, just a random ranty aside. There's a Chloranthy ring. Something that's always driven me nuts about YouTube and the way people label things is how people who are doing playthroughs of a game for a first time will label their playthrough as a walkthrough, suggesting that they have some prior knowledge of the game, that they're showing people how to do things in the most efficient manner, and they'll label their playthroughs as a walkthrough, even though what you're watching isn't actually a walkthrough, it's just them playing the game for the first time. So again, I want to be clear that there are far more efficient ways of doing this area, and ways that you will get all the items. I don't know what those ways are, but surely there exist guides out there on YouTube which can provide you with such information. So we picked up the Chloranthy ring. This ancient ring, engraved with a large green flower, is of unknown origin, hastens the regeneration of stamina. So we might as well pop that on. Yeah, walkthrough is now used instead of long play or blind play, exactly. And that drives me nuts. Well, just clickbait stuff in general is something that I just loathe. So I've always tried to be as honest and forthright with the labeling of my content. And that has cost me views and subscribers, certainly, but I would much rather that than do things dishonestly. No. That was close. Yeah, the algorithm certainly encourages certain types of behavior and discourages others, but ultimately it's up to individuals to decide how they want to label their content. Oh no, we're dead. Ooh! Is that true? Yeah, you're correct. There is an H in Chloranthy. Chloranthy. In the subsequent games, but not here. That is very curious. Again, we're going to be skipping a majority of the items, including several crystal lizards, because again, we have everything that we need. And there's a ladder that can be used for climbing one's way out of Ash Lake, which thankfully we don't have to worry about, because I did not know Chloranthy is real word. What does it mean? Does it just mean green or something? I'm gonna be really embarrassed if I have actually done a phone with definitions for Chloranthy. That shadow is a new bug, by the way. It's a body from the branch up above. That's tremendous. So this is another area which really places an emphasis on something that in the titling of this playthrough. So speaking of how playthroughs are titled and marketed, I suppose, on YouTube, something that I should touch on, which I have touched on in an earlier episode, but it's one of those points that you really can't put too fine a point on it, and that is, I've titled most of the episodes of this playthrough to place an emphasis on the extent to which Dark Souls 1... Oh, crud, we were so close. To place an emphasis on the extent to which Dark Souls 1 is more about the journey than any of the subsequent Souls games, either of the subsequent Souls games. That even in a game like Bloodborne, as well, you can warp right from the outset, and warping plays a huge role in your exploration of the game world. And you know, more to the point, there's a hub world. Oh, see you later, friend. There's a hub world where you're expected to warp back and do all sorts of things, whereas in Dark Souls 1, up until you've defeated Smo and Ornstein, and you've acquired the Lord Vessel, you have to traverse the game world on foot. And though that can be annoying sometimes, it gives Dark Souls 1 its own unique flavor in a way that none of the other Souls games have, because all of the other Souls games, not counting any of the Kingsfield games or anything like that, which I'm sure Theomany can tell us in the chat whether this is a common feature or if it's one that, if it really is Dark Souls 1 that's the outlier. That in so many of these other games, you're expected to warp. Whereas in Dark Souls 1, you're expected for much of the game to traverse the world on foot. To traverse the game world on foot. And the journey down to Ash Lake is another one of those instances where, you know, even if you have the Lord Vessel, you still have to make the long journey down here. And I think that's tremendous, and it gives this game, and it gives the world a sense of the realness, and it gives the world a tangible quality, because you have to run through it, that the other games are lacking to some degree or another. It gives the world a cohesion as well, that, you know, games like Dark Souls 2 and 3, because of how they're designed, with the player having the ability to warp from the outset, those games really lack that same cohesion in world design. Shinichiro Nishida, producer of Kingsfield 4 and system designer all the way through Dark Souls Remastered and Sekiro, has stated that Kingsfield 4 is about the exploration. Fast travel in it requires like 4 steps. QLock actually did a small bug fix, which I just remembered because of the basilisks. Basically, the curse fog applies an effect that lasts for a second. So if you stand in the fog, you get it over and over again, but it used to increase your curse buildup at the start and end of the second long effect, which effectively doubles your curse buildup in certain circumstances, dodging in and out of the fog. QLock fixed that mistake. Well, that's tremendous, because it's not fun getting cursed, that's for sure. And it was very easy to get cursed in the older games. Again, we can see some serious shadow glitches here. In Kingsfield 4, you have limited warp stones, which you choose where to set down and set fast travel points. So seemingly like a precursor to the system that was supposed to be in Dark Souls 3, where you create your own bonfires. That's very interesting. So here we have some mushroom friends. Oh, what? Friend, that's not nice. And they make a noise that sounds like... sounds like a loon over a lake at a cottage, or something like that. I wonder if that's how they recorded that. So again, shadows being casted through objects where they shouldn't be casted. So it is a loon noise then, so I'm not imagining that. Because that is a noise I've heard in real life living in Canada. Oh. See you later, friend. It is cute. Like, why do they have a loon sound? I do wonder about that. Oh. It's so cute how they fall over. I'm sorry for killing you, but you are being rather aggressive. Uh-oh. Here comes The shroom parents, and they are not pleased. Hello? Walking over the dead body of their children. I'm sorry. It's very cruel of me, I know. Devs probably found that bird call and thought that it was really weird and distinct. A number of people have never heard of loon calls, so they were surprised when I tell them it's the sound of a real animal, not just created for the mushrooms. This is very true. Oh, friends. No. No. I feel like Aegon will not be rude to Siegmeyer, but I believe if you jump attack him, he'll stand up just like the dragon butt in the Painted World. Oh, that's tremendous. Oh, man. Okay, fine. We'll get the dialogue first and then we'll do it.
My father, all hollow now. He's been subdued. He will cause no more trouble. It's finally over. I will return to Catarina. You assisted us most gratefully. I can hardly return the favour, but please accept this. It's of no use to me now. Oh, Father. Dear Father.
I'm sorry, friend. I really am. But look! He's not actually dead. Watch this, watch. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, it's bad. Okay, maybe I need to use a weapon with a larger reach. Oh no! 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 I didn't mean it!
Then there's only one thing to do with you.
I didn't mean it! I'm sorry! I'm so sorry! No, please stop! I didn't mean it! I was trying to resurrect your father. I'm sorry. No. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, this is bad. Oh no. You should be sorry, Hot Pocket Remix. Come on. No, gosh, darn it. Oh. I don't think we can use the bonfire because she's aggro to us, even though she doesn't know we're here. Can someone tell me whether we sat at the bonfire? Because I want to use a homeward bone to go get rid of our sin. But I can't remember whether we sat at the bonfire or not. She is every bit as observant as her father. Oh yeah, good idea, Hot Pocket Remix. Let's go do that. It's hard to blame her because We were desecrating her father's corpse, or attempting to anyway. So it really is quite difficult to blame her. Oh no, we didn't sit. Okay. Yeah, because there are dead mushrooms there. Oh, I'm sorry, everyone. Although, again, I guess to be fair, you can blame Hot Pocket Remix for this. And you can also blame me for not sitting at the bonfire when I should have. I totally should have sat at the bonfire. Well, I guess that's another thing they fixed. Oh, the way she goes right back to her dad's corpse, too. Oh, I feel terrible. Oh, yeah, we can just run to the other bonfire. What am I doing? Yeah, let's go do that. Question is, do we deal with the Hydra first? Okay, this is bad. I don't remember how to deal with this. It has been so long. My understanding is that there are two Hydras here, and they switch sides. Ouch. Can't remember how close we're allowed to go here. I think about here. Oh, just one Hydra. It'll jump to the other side if you go far enough. Yeah. I knew I was misremembering something. I think we're better off just being safe and dealing with it, though. Does anyone have any thoughts on why there's a Hydra down here? No, we missed. Hydras come from dragon scales is my theory. That's very interesting. The other one is Calamete's old arena. I love that there's two in the game. It's as if it's just a species that hangs out regularly. How does it not hit it? Okay. We need to re-equip our weapon. Oh, crud. Oh, that was close. One got stuck in Darkroot Basin. Is the water here somehow connected to the lake in Darkroot? I suppose it's possible that water runs up the arch trees. There are also clams down here. And we find clams otherwise in the Crystal Caves. But the Crystal Caves is related in turn to Seat the Scaleless. That's a giant skull over there. There is an item in there. There's several items that we're walking by right now, but priority number one is to get to the second bonfire so that we can warp out of here to deal with our sin so that we don't have to kill Sieglinde, because she will remain there otherwise. This is a wonderful place. I think the clams might be here for gameplay reasons. They drop purging stones and there's basilisks down here. This is true. They provide an easy way to get uncursed, but then why wouldn't they have clams in the depths? And I ask that partially for selfish reasons, because as I've noted several times during this playthrough, in my first playthrough of the game, I got cursed down in the depths, and that pretty much almost led to me quitting Dark Souls, and thereby, in a sort of historical what-if, potentially meant that I never would have created this YouTube channel, nor this Twitch channel. Depths is close enough to female undead merchant. Well, tell that to the noob me in this game. I'm pretty sure I went to... the Sealer, to Ingrid, to relieve my curse the first time I played. Okay, we're gonna deal with this guy, or this thing, in a second. First we gotta go to the Undead Parish. This is a tremendous point, Hot Pocket Remix. This can be accessed before you can warp, and getting cursed down here would be absolutely terrible. That is a good point, and one I hadn't considered, because getting back up from here would be just dreadful. The Wombat of Doom, I don't know if you saw my comment from earlier, but if you look, there's a broken arch tree, and I think that was caused by the creation of the Bed of Chaos. No, I did not see your comment earlier, but we'll have to have a look when we go back down. Hi friend, we did a bad and we need your help.
Greetings and welcome back. I am pleased to see thee preserving thy humanity.
Okay, we need to request absolution. That is more affordable than I thought it was going to be.
Hast thou acquaintance with Petrus of Thurland? I wager you two has likely found
No.
in common. For is he not too drenched in sin?
Sorry, Hunter M. Dee had something like 50,000 souls previously, and now she has 15,228. So the only thing he says is he compares us to Petrus of Thorland, which... Screw you, man. That's not nice. And we just absolved our sin, did we not? So how dare you compare us to him?
If thou committest a crime, bring thyself back here. There is no misdoing that I cannot undo.
That's not nice. So, despite what we're told in the intro and throughout the game otherwise, the ancient dragons have not been completely wiped off the map. This one is still kicking around. When you go to talk to them, it says, "Pray to thee, everlasting dragons." Oh, sorry, Hot Pocket Remix. I believe he'll still charge you for absolution because the game considers killing Guinevere to be a sin, but absolution cannot fix it, so he'll just charge you over and over again. That's very interesting. We are going to say no, because again, Sweet D is a daughter of chaos, and that's what she does. So you can, very early in the game, come down here to get this sword, which is not anything to shake a stick at, but you do need, of course, dragon skills to upgrade it. And if you are in the Covenant, you need dragon skills likewise to level up in the Covenant. So, yeah, you have to pick your poison. This sword, one of the rare dragon weapons, came from the tail of the stone dragon of Ash Lake, descendant of the ancient dragons. Its great mystical power will be unleashed when wielded with 2 hands. And that has 50 strength, so even wielding that 2 hands, that would not work for us. Note that, and this is something I find very interesting, and perhaps it's just a gameplay thing, but note how right now we have 7 Estus, we set at the bonfire, and we have 10. And as we established earlier in the playthrough, all bonfires by default are unlit and only give you 5 Estus when you sit at them. Unless there is a firekeeper nearby, in which case the bonfire is already lit and provides the player with 10 Estus. So I'm gonna say that this is the largest firekeeper in any of the Souls games. And that is precisely what I'm getting at, Nicole, that this dragon would seem to be the firekeeper for this bonfire. Sweet D can't explain it. But yeah, Hot Pocket Remix says, speaking of cut locations, there's one for Oswald in Firelink, not too surprising. Maybe Sieglinde fed it a firekeeper soul. Hello, Scarod. Maybe, but I somehow doubt that, seeing as even if, like, if you come down here before doing, or, you know, without doing any of Siegmeyer or Sieglinde's quest line, it will still have 10 Estus and it will still be pre-kindled for you. So, it's the cutest firekeeper by far. I cannot argue with you there. So the Wombat of Doom earlier on pointed out that, I think the Wombat of Doom pointed out this arch tree right here. And correct me if I'm wrong, but if this is not the one you were pointing to. But it's curious that this arch tree is broken, whereas I believe all of the rest are intact. Although this one's a little bit messed up too, it looks like. Suggesting perhaps that that's maybe, I believe the suggestion that was made was that that is the arch tree which corresponds to Lost Izalith. So thereby suggesting that the arch tree was somehow cut short or cut off from Izalith when the Witch of Izalith attempted to recreate the first flame. This place is a dreamland using trees as portals. I would agree with you if we couldn't just walk here. But again, a site very reminiscent to that which we saw when we were in the Tomb of the Giants, as well as reminiscent to that which we saw in Bloodborne, in the Hunter's Dream, when you looked around and saw just all of these pillars. This is where they harvest the wood for Go's whittling, indeed. That is the one, Wombat of Doom says. Okay, good. I'm glad I didn't misquote you. So these very helpful messages here are pointing out that we can drop down. Here's the description for the Dragon Eye, which we would have gotten had we joined the Covenant. An art of the transcendent apostles who pray to the ancient dragons. To be alive is to be vulnerable, and the fiery gods are no exception. The apostles seek another plane of existence which transcends life. To be alive is to be vulnerable indeed. That is a very, very apt phrase. So here we have Miracle, a great magic barrier, as well as a bunch of basilisks. The enemy whose name is least friendly to audio editing when doing Souls playthroughs. Because I have a tendency to do hard Ks, and there's one thing that I pride myself on for my videos, and that is that the audio editing is good. And so I hate having to deal with hard Ks, because they are just so hard on the ears. And basilisk is one of those words that often leads to hard Ks. Dragon Headstone, stone imbued with the power of the dragons, right of apostles of the ancient dragons. Gain head of dragon, emit dragon breath. The dragon apostles seek transcendence of life itself, attainable by transformation into an ancient dragon. This right is only one step, but it cannot be reversed until death. What the hell is this? It's just a soul item? The dragon apostles, like the pus, are trying to seek a form that will survive the end of the world. Trying to transcend the end. Dragon scale, never mind. Is this supposed to be a dragon skull? I did get Great Magic Barrier, but I did not read it, so thank you for the reminder. Great Magic Barrier, Miracle of Bishop Havel, the Rock. Cover body in powerful defensive magic coating. Again, another case in which an unnecessary short form is used. Havel the Rock, an old battlefield compatriot of Lord Gwyn, was the sworn enemy of Seath the Scaleless. He despised magic and made certain to devise means of counteraction. So he despised magic, but used magic. Right. Bishop Havel the Rock. Is that the first time that his name is mentioned as Bishop Havel the Rock, I wonder? Because in Havel's Ring he's just mentioned as Havel the Rock. So we got a Purging Stone. I think they mean magic as in sorcery specifically. I figured as much, but I think it's almost like Demon Souls in the sense that, oh, look at this clipping here. I noticed that from far away, but it's amazing that, oh, that's dreadful. There's a specific term for that. It's like Zed buffering or something like that. The Way of White guys all thought that their miracles were not magic, so there's that. But also in Demon Souls we have, you know, the whole thing where people think that miracles and sorceries are so different, and yet it turns out in the end that their source, that they all come from the old one, according to the Talisman of Beast. Zed fighting, thank you, Hot Pocket Remix. And that is not a Dragon Ball Z reference. That has to do with the location of the items in the game world, that there's two different items that are seemingly trying to occupy the same space in the game world. But once you get close up, it doesn't appear to be an issue anymore. Okay, I think that's all the items down here. And she's gone, which means that she's no longer upset with us. Because otherwise, she would have just remained there until we killed her, or she continually killed us. Imminent tears indeed. Okay, I think that's it for Ash Lake, unless anyone has anything to add here or wants to note something that I've missed down here. There's a fun bug, but you can't do it since you killed the Hydra. Is that of the Hydra jumping? Oh, it was discovered pretty recently. Okay, never mind then. Havel's barrier spell is a hint that he was getting friendly with dragons, leading to his appearance at Archdragon Peak. Touché. We'll be talking about that in a few episodes, Hunter M. I very much look forward to that, friend. So let's get out of here. Hot Pocket Remix says the Hydra jumping is intentional. However, if you make the Hydra jump to the other side, then run all the way to the Everlasting Dragon's bonfire, rest there and come back, the Hydra will still be on the other side. When it tries to jump back to its original side, it'll dive underwater, then come up on the original side and jump to where it just was. Good times. That's strange. This chest is no longer open. The Covenant of Artorias, which we dropped earlier because it's an item that is significant that you need to beat the game. You need it to beat the Four Kings. The game will not allow you, like you can drop it, but then it reappears here. So it is very, very curious that the game doesn't just not let you drop it. It allows you to drop it and then it puts it back in this chest here. I am curious as to what other items would appear here if you dropped it and left it alone. I'd be curious if there's any feedback about that in the chat. But yeah, that's the thing that I just thought I would show off before we proceeded to the Kiln of the First Flame. Very interesting statue there as well, holding a baby. In fact, the recovery chest is coded to restore a bunch of different items, but most of them you cannot drop, like keys and embers. So that's the really weird thing. Like, why can you not drop these things? I guess because the ring isn't so much a ring as it is a key item. You can't drop anything else, though, that is a key item, that is essential for proceeding in the game. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing that I don't think they did again in any of the subsequent Souls games. I'm going to assume that if you try to drop the Covenant of Artorias for another player, that they don't see it. Am I correct in assuming that? Because otherwise that'd be a really cheeky way of helping your friends get through the game. If you don't want them to have to kill Sif, you could drop the Covenant of Artorias for them, and then just pick it right back up from the chest here. Horrible framed texture indeed. Covenant of Artorias has the don't show up for other players flag set. Thank you, I figured as much. He's so dead and leathery looking. It looks like he's covered in poop, which, given the fact that he will eat poop that you feed him, probably not all that far off. Hi, friend.
I am pleased to see you well. Is it something urgent? The beings who Very well. I am pleased. Is it? Farewell.
So just a review before we dump anything in the Lord Vessel. Lord Soul, Soul of Gravelord Nito, First of the Dead. This Lord Soul was discovered at the dawn of the Age of Fire. Gravelord Nito administers the death of all manner of beings. The power of this soul is so great that it satiates the Lord Vessel, despite the fact that much of its energy has already been offered to death. Soul of the Bed of Chaos and the mother of all demons. This Lord Soul was found at the dawn of the Age of Fire. The Witch of Izalith attempted to duplicate the first flame from a soul, but instead created a distorted being of chaos and fire. Its power formed a bed of life, which would become the source of all demons, and is more than enough to satiate the Lord Vessel. Soul of one of the four kings who fell to Darg. A fragment of a Lord Soul discovered at the dawn of the Age of Fire. Lord Gwyn recognized the foresight of these four great leaders of New Londo and granted them their ranks and the fragments of a great soul. Although this is not a full Lord Soul, it can still satiate the Lord Vessel. Soul of the Albino, Seath the Scaleless, a fragment of a Lord Soul discovered at the dawn of the Age of Fire. Seath allied with Lord Gwyn and turned upon the dragons, and for this he was awarded dukedom, embraced by the royalty and given a fragment of a great soul. Although just a piece, it will still satiate the Lord Vessel. Here's a small nuance about the recovery chest. Imagine a key item was dropped by an enemy and it didn't go into your inventory and got dropped on the ground, like Stray Demon's Titanite Slab does, for instance. If you left the area to despawn the item, it won't show up in the recovery chest. It's only for key items you've actually obtained and then later lost. Very interesting stuff. So we might as well offer souls to the Lord Vessel. Also, when they patched to add the DLC, they added the broken pendant to the recovery chest code, even though they knew by that time you cannot drop key items. I wonder if they were just covering all the bases. Indeed. So let's see if Frampt has any additional dialogue now. What are you doing with your other ear, friend? Looks like it's like caught in your nose.
Ah. Oh. The Lord Vessel is satiated. Magnificent. You are the righteous successor to Gwyn, the new great lord, and I am Kingseeker no more. Your acquaintance was an honor. I must admit, I am fond of you humans. May you enjoy serendipity, and may the Age of Fire perpetuate.
Oh. That knocked his ear loose. He was so excited that his ear got caught in his nose, and then that just knocked it loose. Furthering the theory that the broken arch tree being caused by the Bed of Chaos, since this example is supported by an arch tree, so she likely tried to replicate it there. Indeed. Alright. So here we get a glimpse into, as I've mentioned before, how the Black Knights were seemingly originally envisioned. As ghosts just sort of wandering the landscape. So I've never thought to do that before until now. And that's about what I expected. But it is curious though that, like, what is this? I know it's fancy and it makes you think about the Black Knights, what they are, you know, whether they're ghosts, apparitions, whether they're real or not. It you know, is fitting for an entry into the last area of the game. It's eerie, it's awesome, it's atmospheric. But is this just like... Are we entering another plane of existence? Is this like Dark Souls 3, where we warp to the Kiln and then we warp again? Like, are we seeing the world right now as it really is, in the same way that we do in... In the same way that we do in Dark Souls 3? Are we entering a dream realm? Or a gray, unformed world? Bridge between worlds, magical deep fog. It's a sea of ghosts. Much too early. So the world is then reverting back to its gray state, unformed and shrouded by fog. Is that what everyone in the chat is saying? Is that the consensus? When I first played this area, it didn't occur to me that the stuff we're walking on was ashes. I thought it was snow for some reason. I guess because it wasn't without precedent, given the painted world. I realize that Hot Pocket remix, but... You know, it's strange. Oh, we got a Black Knight Ultra Greatsword. Or I guess just a Black Knight Greatsword. Greatsword of the Black Knights who wander Lordran, used to face Chaos Demons. The large motion that puts the weight of the body into the attack reflects the great size of their adversaries long ago. Can someone tell me whether they patched move swapping? That is to say, when you could... I can't recall exactly how it's done. I used to be able to do it though, where you could give the S-Stock... You could use the Black Knight Greatsword, but with the S-Stock moveset. Move swapping was patched. Yes, oh, that's a shame. And I assume the same is also true of tumble buffing, where you could buff a bow with, yeah, with like a great magic weapon or something, which you're not supposed to be able to do. Dead. Oh my god. Oh, they fixed how the input queue was handled. Interesting. Seems to be the remains of the temple in which the flame was kept. Tumble buffing as before was patched, but there's another trick called spell swap that can do similar, but it's harder to do, I think. Looks like a massive coliseum. Isn't this supposed to be a kiln? Like literally a kiln? We should be careful around here because there have been... I have seen a vagrant around here, but it looks like we don't have one today, unfortunately. It's the Black Knight set. And there is a concert going on outside. I don't know if you can hear that or not, because it is Frost Week at my university. And I'm choosing to not let it annoy me because this is my last year here at York University, and yeah, so I'm trying not to let things annoy me just because I want to finish and get out of here. But you can see the stone is windswept and melted because the fire from Gwyn's relinking swirled outwards. Black Knight Helm, helm of the Black Knights who haunt Lordran. The knights followed Lord Gwyn when he departed to link the fire, but they were burned to ashes in the newly kindled flame, wandering the world as disembodied spirits ever after. It's funny, there are other spots here that of course we can't access. Oh, wait a second. We need to reverse hollowing. We did all that work to save, quote-unquote, save Solaire. And we're just walking right by his summon sign now. So we'll finish up with these Black Knights and then we'll homeward bone. Of course, these Black Knights are all guaranteed drops. They do have drops that are, there's a random chance, they're weapons and shield. But otherwise, they are guaranteed drops for upgrade materials. So a great spot to farm upgrade materials if you need them. But you need to make sure you do that before you fight Gwyn. Otherwise, you'll lose your chance until the next playthrough, when you've opened the kiln again. Try. Okay, friend. There is a spot where you can see Gwyn standing, I thought. The building was made back before the flame was fading. If the flame was fading, why did it need such a massive building to house it? There you can see him. In the top middle of the screen, you can see Gwyn just sort of standing there, staring at the fog gate. Nothing better to do. Just chilling. At least the Soul of Cinder sits down. Soul of Cinder's like, screw this, I'm not going to be standing for all of eternity, I'm going to sit. And then when they come to me, that's when I'll go running and attack them. Okay. So we are, of course, the Soul Cinder just sits at the bonfire. And then when the player character comes in, or when they spot the player character, or perhaps rather when they smell the player character, they pull up the coiled sword and come after the player character. So we are, of course, opening ourselves up to the risk of invasions, which is almost certainly going to happen, and it looks like we're being invaded already. That's okay. Black Knight Sword. Slayer Doman has invaded.
Hello!
GG. I'm glad at the very least we won one PvP duel in this playthrough. But now we should at least have a little bit of a cooldown timer that we can use to make our way through the area and summon Slayer before we're invaded again. So it's totally okay that we got our butt kicked there. Another Black Knight Sword, we might as well read that now. Great Sword of the Black Knights who wander Lordran, used to face Chaos Demons. The large motion that puts the weight of the body into the attack reflects the great size of their adversaries long ago. I don't know how we're going to face Gwyn. I want to say that he's resistant to fire, but I don't know that that's true. I would imagine that he's certainly resistant to lightning. Oh. Alright, friend. I'll leave you to it then. I don't know what's going on with him, but yeah, that's... uh-oh. Oh. Uh-oh. I don't see Solaire Summon Sign anywhere. He's weak to fire, strong against lightning. Touche. Weak as in not resistant. I thought we did talk to Slayer at the final spot, which is right before entering Lost Izalith. Oh, it's in the bug tunnel. That's right. Alright, let's go do it. Hi, friend.
Was it all a lie? Have I done this all for nothing? Oh, my dear son. What now? What should I do? My son. My dear, dear son.
I'm sorry, friend. I'll help you find your son very shortly. Alright, let's set up our magic appropriately. 89 magic 83 fire, 590 lightning, so yeah. It's funny how Miyazaki considers Solaire going hollow as his good ending, sums up Dark Souls pretty well in my opinion. Everything is so twisted, indeed. We talked about that at great length in my casual playthrough of Dark Souls 1, which, though it was done back in 2015, I think that is a very unique and well done playthrough of Dark Souls 1. Certainly it was done at a time when my knowledge of Dark Souls 1 was far more fresh than it is today. So I'm glad I did it when I did, even though it prolonged the length of Bloodborne Let's Talk lore. In the same way I suppose that this playthrough is prolonging the length of Dark Souls 3 Let's Talk lore. Yep, Solaire is okay. I feel really silly that we forgot to talk to him in that last spot, though. But I suppose that's about par for the course for this playthrough. Wherein I underestimated everything and got my butt kicked at pretty much every turn. But that's what makes Dark Souls Dark Souls, in that the second you become confident, you start thinking that you've got one up on the game gets one up on you. As you can tell, I farmed these Black Knights many a time. There it is, his brilliant shining signature.
Hello! Hello! Thank you!
I enjoyed that playthrough, Aegon. It really made me aware of a lot of things I didn't know, plus I'm not quite observant enough to figure out lore for myself, so I enjoy watching you, Vanti, Ashen Hollow Spy, Ian B, and many others. Well, very happy to hear that, Pacino. Just wondering, is the White Tunnel effectively... We talked about that a little bit earlier, and we didn't come to any definitive answer to that question. Because it almost seems like we are entering a portal to another world, in a way not dissimilar to what happens in Dark Souls 3. Which raises questions as to whether or not the game world of the game is indeed the game world, or whether it's some sort of Dreamlands-esque place. But I'm inclined to believe that it is the real world, and that was just a little bit of added flourish that they put in there in order to, you know, make it more special. You're going to the final boss. So, speaking of which, let's do this. I agree about the music being awesome, and I apologize that you didn't get to hear much of it. So now we have a choice. We can, as the text on the bottom of the screen notes for us, we can link the fire, or we can walk out. Hi, first time commenter here. Really enjoyed your playthrough on YouTube. I'm wondering, if you choose the Age of Dark ending, do you think the story of Dark Souls 2 and 3 make any sense? How would a random flicker ember reignite the Age of Flame if the chosen undead picks the dark ending? Hello, my CND90? I would argue that it does make sense, regardless of what ending you choose, and this is something we'll talk about in much greater detail in Dark Souls 3 Let's Talk Lore, though we have already touched on this subject in that playthrough, and that is, it doesn't matter what individuals do in a world like this, and that I suspect is part of the point, part of the story of the game, in that the world isn't decided by any one chosen undead, that there's a multiverse, a multitude of chosen undeads, and it is only by mashing together with random chance, all of the actions of all the different chosen undeads in the game world. This is at least how I see it. This isn't canonical, of course, this is speculation, based on evidence, I think, but it's a mashing up, and so it's sort of like how evolution by natural selection works. In that, just because there's one animal who has a longer neck and can reach up to the top of a tree to eat leaves from that tree, that doesn't mean that that animal's child is likewise going to have a longer neck than all of their peers. It's that over many, many, many generations and many, many, many different genetic pools that leads to an evolution, that leads to a mutation, which has that end result. But it is not sufficient in and of itself for a single animal to have a longer neck. It needs to be sustained. There needs to be sustained mutations over successive generations. I'm not a biologist, and so that's a very layperson understanding of the concept I was just trying to explain. But that is more or less, I think, how the story of the Souls games works from one installment to the next. I also talked about that in great deal in my first playthrough ever on the channel, which is Dark Souls 2 Let's Talk Lore. So if you can stand the considerably poorer audio quality and me not knowing how to do a playthrough on YouTube just yet, then I would recommend checking out that playthrough, because I talk about that idea a great deal in that playthrough. Alright, so since for the playthrough I have up on YouTube already, the casual playthrough, I linked the fire, I think Sweet D is going to do the opposite. She's going to become a new Lord of Darkness. She certainly doesn't want to perpetuate the cycle that she's observed throughout this game and in this playthrough. Because she doesn't like what she's seen, and she's done with it all.
My lord, bless thy safe return. Let Carth and Fraft serve your highness. We are here to serve your highness. Let true dark be cast upon the world. Our Lord hath returned.
So that, of course, raises a lot of questions, including, but not limited to, the fact that, and here we see the QLOC or QLOC team for the remaster. And even though I think that maybe they could have done more, we don't really know what their restrictions were like. And perhaps they wanted to do more, as we discussed earlier in this stream, but they maybe weren't able to. But I think in the overall they did a good job, given the constraints that were placed on them. And then we have the original credits here. Or are those the original credits? Because wasn't Miyazaki the director of Dark Souls 1? Was it always Akano? Oh, don't mention it. My Sind 90? Sorry if I'm butchering that name. I have a feeling like these are the remaster credits, and then we're about to see the original credits after that. But it, you know, the ending begins with let Cath and Frampt serve you. So, suggesting once more that Frampt and Cath, they're just two sides of the same coin. They're not offering you anything different. That no matter what happens, they will together benefit. Sorry, Moogle Pies, we are going to do a little bit of New Game Plus though, so you haven't missed the entire stream though. And the episode will of course be up on YouTube shortly. Yeah, kind of instantly outs Frampt, indeed, as someone who is just an opportunist, that, you know, they'll go whichever way the wind blows. But it is quite interesting, I think. I've not been paying attention to the credits, so I do want to see, though, whether we eventually get to the original credits. They're necessary yin-yang. Fairweather Frampt, indeed. I don't think Frampt is serving you. Is it confirmed that he is one of the serpents at the end? Well, it's not confirmed, but it does say let Cath and Frampt serve you. So I imagine that perhaps... Oh, so here's the original credits. Okay, director-producer Hidetaka Miyazaki. Okay, I thought maybe I had been just very confused and misled all these years. That, you know, maybe the first serpent on each end is one of the... Cath and Frampt. Was always officially upset that we don't fight the primordial Hydra in Dark Souls 3. That would have been very cool. I mean, was there ever any proof that Cath Frampt weren't the same serpent just trying to cause trouble? There was and wasn't. And something we discussed in Dark Souls 3 Let's Talk Lore as well. In that... You know, theoretically, they could literally be two sides of the same serpent. Because we never see the bottom or the top half of them. I can't remember, I think the ending music now ends too early because the credits are longer. I suppose we'll see. I was going to ask whether or not they looped it or maybe they added additional music. The serpents are in the background of several plot threads, and we see physical evidence of their existence in Castle Lothric most notably.
Yes, indeed. The dark sign brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
Alright, so I know we watched that entire cutscene, but we are going to try and move through this as swiftly as possible. Get wrecked. Demon's Great Hammer, which you get for defeating the boss before going to get all of your equipment and whatnot. Oh, but we have to... I'm so silly. We still have to go get the key from Oscar. Demon weapon built from the stone arch trees, used by lesser demons at Northern Undead Asylum. This hammer is imbued with no special power, but can merrily beat foes to a pulp, providing you have the strength to wield it. Oh, thank you, Hunter M, yeah. I realized that as I was mashing and nothing was happening. Miracle born from the fading soul of Gwyn, hurl sunlight spear. In the war that marked the dawn of the Age of Fire, Gwyn wielded these rays of sunlight, which remain fierce even as they fade. That's about as overkill as a kill can get, right there. Because I was reading the chat, didn't realize what spell I had selected. What if New Game Plus they put Oscar the Grouch in Oscar's place? Sorry, Oscar, we're just rushing through, so I will hear you out, but I'm not actually going to hear you out. Okay, see you later. Rest in peace. We just want to grab the... Not that we really need it, but... We just want to grab the Pyromancy Flame. Greatsword born of the soul of Gwyn, Lord of Cinder. As bearer of the ultimate soul, Gwyn wielded the bolts of the sun, but before linking the fire, divided that power amongst his children, and set off with only this greatsword as his companion. And I suppose a bunch of Black Knights as well, though it doesn't mention that.
Only in the ancient legends it is stated that one day an undead shall be chosen. To leave the undead asylum in pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords. Lordran.
So for the remainder of the set, courtesy of Hot Pocket Remix, Lord Gwyn, bearer of the ultimate soul, divided that power among his clan before linking the flame. When he departed, he left only with his greatsword, his garb, and the crown, now bereft of power. Crown of Gwyn, Lord of Cinder, who linked the first flame. Lord Gwyn, bearer of the ultimate soul, divided his power among his great clan before linking the flame. But he did keep his crown, perhaps to preserve a symbol of the monarch, for its actual power had fully subsided. So that's very interesting, and that seems to hint at the crowns in Dark Souls 2 that have powers. Because it doesn't mention what the power of his crown was, only that it's faded. I'm very curious to see to what extent grave lording is actually a thing now. Again, I think it is a damn crying shame that Gravelording does not work the same way regardless of what new game cycle you're in. Because I think that's part of what led to the Gravelord Covenant being a failure in terms of game design. If you want all the covenants to matter, you know, you shouldn't lock any of them behind New Game Plus. You shouldn't lock their effects behind New Game Plus. Again, I seem to recall this bridge up there being a prime spot for Gravelords to camp. Because not a lot of new players necessarily knew how to get up there. And wherever you're currently standing as a Gravelord is where players would need to find your Gravelord sign in order to cancel out, or in order to invade you, in order to defeat the Gravelord Servant, which you need to do in order to cancel the Gravelord. Some of the Red Phantom enemy spawns are ridiculous in Anor Londo. Well, now I'm looking forward to going to Anor Londo. Don't know that I'll have time to do that anytime soon, unfortunately, but that is something I would like to do eventually. Amazed that we didn't get invaded on the way to the bonfire. The linked AI Silver Knights, so you mean like they chain aggro? Maybe we should level up again. And a few times in addition to that, because we are at level 85. I imagine that the meta is much higher than that. Probably 120. Oh, and we didn't read Gwyn's soul. Soul of Gwyn, Lord of Sunlight and Cinder, who linked the first flame. Lord Gwyn bequeathed most of his power to the gods and burned as cinder for the first flame, but even so, Lord Gwyn's soul is a powerful thing indeed. Aegon, what do you think about the idea of organizing a PvP event in the arena? The game has password matchmaking, so would be far more inclusive than when we last tried it with Dark Souls 2. I'm open to the idea, but unfortunately I just don't have the time. I think it would be great, but, you know, just my time is so limited these days that, you know, I think I'm better off just spending that time returning to Dark Souls 3 Let's Talk Lore and spending my time working on that. Just because it's been so long since I've worked on an episode for that. And, you know, other than that, of course, writing my dissertation. And I'm going to be starting a new semester teaching tomorrow. So, you know, I would love to. And maybe that's something that we'll return to after I've graduated and you know, maybe after I have a job. Because I do intend to continue streaming. I don't know how exactly I'm going to balance everything, but I see the spooky floor near the Black Knight. What do you mean by spooky floor? Oh, you mean over here? Thank you, Moogle Pies. What? Really? What the hell?
Hello.
Oh my gosh, that is, yeah, very interesting. So yeah, no Gravelords yet, unfortunately. That's a shame. Actually, I think we could just do this without Red Tear Sun Ring. Let's see. Your commute went from 4 hours into 5 hours. I don't know how you would ever even manage a 4-hour commute. That's dreadful. Oh, you need to jump to the left as... Okay. So it's actually jumping and not rolling. Sorry, I forgot what that was in reference to. That's how you know it's late in the stream. That was close. Also near that spooky floor is a spooky wall. If you throw a throwing knife, it'll go through it and break some barrels that are inside the wall. That's tremendous. Hi, friend. We've already talked to you once, so I'm just going to skip through your dialogue, but...
Oh, hello there.
Wait a second. Wait. He doesn't even pretend like we haven't spoken yet.
Oh, hello there. I will stay behind to gaze at the sun. The sun is a wondrous body, like a magnificent father. If only I could be so grossly incandescent.
So Solera exists outside the cycle, in other words. Dee's lore on New Game Plus is that she's heard a lot about these Gravelord people, and she wants to see what they're all about. She, of course, wants nothing of this stinking Hellkite Drake. So she's just gonna run on by. And again, all of the bonfires remain in the state in which we left them in the previous New Game cycle. No, don't you dare shut that friggin' gate! Oh my gosh. Alright, we'll see if the gate is still open. No, yeah, the Hollow got to the switch. Gosh darn it. Yeah, it doesn't appear as though... I was expecting that every early game area was going to be Gravelorded, but it doesn't appear as though that's the case, unfortunately. In any case, the time has come for us to bring this playthrough to an end. Because we need to get back to Dark Souls 3, let's talk lore. I need to get back to real life things. This playthrough has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you to all of those of you who are watching on YouTube, those of you who joined us on Twitch during the streams and provided your knowledge and expertise and experiences in a way that really enriched the playthrough, I thought. So thank you all just enormously for everything and for sticking with the channel with what is now, I think, its 4th year. Yeah, this channel has been around since early 2015, and that's now late 2018, so we are in our 4th year, which is crazy. But that's going to do it for this episode and this playthrough. So thank you all very, very much for joining us, and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.